Donate $19 a month to receive your exclusive hat.
Good evening, America. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the latest edition of Just the News, No Noise. I'm your host, John Solomon, reporting to you, as always, from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where today history could be made on election integrity, and we get to that. But first, a quick programming note. My amazing co-host, Amanda Head, she's going to be out for the next couple of weeks, so I'm going to be flying solo. We'll try to get through it without her. She'll be back, and it'll feel good when she gets here. But let me get to what's about to happen on the floor of the United States House of Representatives in a few minutes. The vote will begin on whether the House of Representatives will pass the Save America Act. What is that? That is a combination of two prior pieces of legislation that passed the House independently, but the Senate never voted on. They're both about election integrity. The first would require citizenship checks before you get to register to vote. You got to prove that you're a citizen before you register. Then when you go to vote, you just got to show voter ID and you're on your way. Two common sense things were supported by about 80% of Americans in most polls, combined in one bill and then sent over to the Senate, where they don't like to pass anything these days. Put pressure on senators to do what the American public, 80% or more of the American public, want. That vote's going to occur in a little bit. We're going to talk to Congressman Ralph Norman in a second. He's going to give us the very latest. It looks like they got just enough votes to squeak that out of the House and send it over to the Senate. We're going to be keeping an eye on that all throughout the show. If it passes in the show, it's going to be the first now. I'm going to let you know. Meanwhile, we'll stay on Capitol Hill because that's where sparks were flying all day as the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, testified in front of the House Judiciary Committee. Jim Jordan gave us a preview of that yesterday. It lived up to exactly the billing. You could have guessed it before the hearing even began. The Epstein files were top of mind for everyone, and how the Justice Department has been rolling them out. They came up over and over and over again. But I'll tell you what, the Attorney General didn't take too much smacking around. She didn't back down. She defended herself. She turned a lot of the arguments around on Democrats, calling them hypocrites for pressing her on an issue when they didn't look at the Jeffrey Epstein matter one bit. And by the way, she reminded them the Obama administration never tried to prosecute Jeffrey Epstein, nor did the Joe Biden one. The only people ever tried was Donald Trump's first administration. She brought it up, and she brought it up, and she brought it up again. It was quite a clash. I'm going to show you a couple scenes that played out. Here's an exchange between Democrat Congressman Jamie Raskin. Remember him? He told us that Russia collusion was true. It wasn't. And Jerry Nadler. Take a look. Listen to this one. It's a pretty interesting exchange.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No, you're going to answer the question the way I asked it.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer. Not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
You're not even a lawyer. I thought that was pretty funny. How about that? It wasn't just Democrats. Sometimes Pam Bondi got into it with Republicans, like Congressman Tom Massey, too, when he asked about her handling of the Epstein files. Watch this one.
My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this
when
is
you
bigger
don't,
than Watergate.
When I don't answer the question the way you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
Oh, there's some smoke, a lot of name calling. It was worth having some popcorn to watch today. some really serious issues here. And I want to remind everybody what I've been saying when I've been on State Band and everywhere on this network. The greatest scandal about Epstein is in 2007 and 2008. The George W. Bush Justice Department had a chance to shut down Epstein forever, for good. They gave him a pass. They gave him a non-prosecution agreement. Then the prosecutors in Palm Beach area gave him a tap on the hand with a prostitution charge, and he basically walked off and continued for another 10 years. It's hard to lose sight of that. 2007 and 8 is the tragedy that nobody really talks about very often, but it is the starting point of this failure to bring that network to pass. And I want to just remind everybody of that. Now, a lot of other news going on today. Go over to justthenews.com. We got you covered. I don't want to jip you. We had a great interview just a few minutes ago with Congressman Ralph Norman for the great state of South Carolina. He had to run to the floor to get ready for this big vote. But yesterday he was in the Rules Committee. He helped get the Save America Act in position to be passed tonight. He had a lot to say about that, plus what went on in Congress today. Have a watch. All right, folks, joining me now, he represents the great state of South Carolina, the United States House of Representatives. He's one of the leading candidates to be governor in that state next year. Congressman Ralph Norman, sir, good to have you back on the show.
As always, great to be with you, John.
You have been at the center of some of the most important things moving their way through Congress. Last night in the Rules Committee, the guardrails were put in for the Save America Act, perhaps the most important piece of election integrity legislation to make its way through Congress in a long time. Tell us what that was like last night and what do you think will be happening on the floor tonight?
You know, to even have to have the debate, John, for verification of you are who you say you are to vote is amazing. For the Democrats to say, bring up Jim Crow, bring up some voter suppression, bring up, disenfranchisement, is outlandish. And we heard it all last night at the Rules Committee. And they were in unison saying something that basically, I think, just highlights the reason they wanted the mass immigration to 15 to 20 million to have a voting base that would keep them in power. And the fact that they weren't citizens did not matter to them. So it was all rhetoric. It was all partisan. And tonight, I hope we put it to rest. And it'll be a close vote, probably 3 that we will win it by. But hopefully no Republicans will go with the Democrats on this, because, you lose your country if you don't have safe elections. That's just pure and simple.
Yeah. And both of these ideas passed separately through the House. It's just merging them together now. So it seems like that coalition holds together. I want to take on the Democrat narrative. You come from a state that has voter ID. You've seen growth in your voter rolls. You've seen growth in the turnout. It doesn't seem like there's been any Jim Crow in South Carolina recently. In fact, voter ID seems to have encouraged more people to vote.
It's encouraging them to vote, and people want to know that their vote counts. And if you're letting anyone, whether they're a citizen or not a citizen, vote, then that undermines those who want their vote to count and want it to count for the person that they cast a vote for. So it's not that complicated. But the Democrats now are a Marxist socialist party that want to maintain power or get power by any means possible. And the two bills, the original bill passed the House that Chip Roy had was verification of citizenship. And the Save America Act basically you have to have a voter ID, have to have a photo to identify yourself, as you do when you get on an airplane, as you do when you get medicine, and so many other things. So they're putting up a fight that I think eventually the American people will see it for what it is, which is just a fraudulent attempt to have unsafe elections and for them to rig elections, and we can't stand that.
Yeah, so important to defeat the narrative. We did it in Georgia. We learned in Georgia in 2022. They took the baseball game away, but voting went way up after the voter ID requirements went up in Georgia. And if anything, debunked the Democrats. The state of Georgia does. And speaking of Georgia, yesterday, the Just the News obtained the FBI affidavit in support of the raid that was done in the Fulton County warehouse where the 2020 ballots were still stored. And the FBI declared for the first time, hey, we looked at all of the allegations that people made in Georgia, most of them Republicans and conservatives, some got debunked. But we substantiated 5 very serious irregularities in how the ballots were counted and recounted. And on all those occasions, the substantiation is an acknowledgement by Fulton County that those things happen. Now, for a long time, if you raised any question about the vote in 2020, you laughed off. For the FBI to come in and say they substantiated irregularities in the vote counts and the recounts that occurred in 2020 seems to me a pretty significant moment, an acknowledgement that we're not perfect in how we count votes.
We're not perfect, and John, your duty, thanks to your investigative reporting, to have ballots that were never scanned, to have ballots that were scanned 2 and 3 times, to have voter counts, and I think one number I heard was it went from 511,000, 17,000 that weren't counted. All of a sudden, when they were counted, it was 17,000 more, 529,000. When they had mail-in ballots that to mail them in, you had to crease them and bend, and to get them in an envelope, to have ballots that were supposedly mailed in, no crease in them and no way to get them in through the envelopes. All that to say is this can't happen in America, and this has got to be fixed. And think about it, in 2020, who knows what has been lost since then, and who knows if it's not far greater than this. And it's like cancer. If you find a little cancer, you get it all out. In the case of Fulton County, they protested any type of examination, any type of audit. And, I thank President Trump for going in and getting it. And Raffensperger ought to be very embarrassed on this, because he is the one that oversaw a lot of this and defended it at the time, which is unheard of.
Yeah, his own election director is quoted by the FBI. He's named as witness 4, but they give him his title, so you know who it is. The top deputy, Raffensperger, said, I didn't know about some of this stuff. It's troubling to learn about it now. That was a pretty remarkable moment in that FBI document yesterday. I want to turn a little bit to fiscal responsibility. You have been one of the most important voices on this. We're seeing a much improving economy today. The jobs report outperformed expectations again. The economy's GDP is coming up. The interest rates are starting to come down. With the economy improving, we have a Trump economy now, not a Biden economy. Is there a moment now where Republicans who've been reluctant to cut spending realize we've got the runway, we got the room for it, revenues are going to be going up, let's get this fixed? What is going on behind the scenes in terms of the ability to cut some spending to where Americans really want it to be?
Well, and that has to be the mantra of the Republican Party. You're right. Spending the taxes collected through a vibrant economy, through a jobs report that was great. And by the way, John, this wasn't government jobs. This was private sector jobs that were actually paying taxes and contributing to the economy. We've got to realize the debt is real, and it's not just the $38 trillion that we know about, but you look at every agency from Social Security, the Highway Trust Fund, so many agencies that are running in the red. Now's the time that we've got to have hopefully a new look at this and really make some serious cuts to get this debt so that we can handle it, because we're leaving this to future generations. And if we don't, then they're going to pay the price. And the interest alone on the debt is exceeding what is about equal to what we're spending on our national debt, on our national military. And we can't do that. We can't keep that going. So hopefully the Republicans who campaigned on fiscal sanity, less taxes, less government, are going to actually vote to really cut the spending, and hopefully the appropriators will follow suit and will do that.
The American public are speaking. The run on gold and silver isn't because they suddenly discovered that gold and silver looks good. It's because they're worried about the power of the dollar in a debt-plagued nation. And that doubling of cost of gold and silver is the market speaking to us and to Congress that they're ready for it. You've also, as you're running for governor, I think taken some really strong stands about how you're going to fight fraud and create a Doge in your city. You're also committed to making sure that the anarchists that we see playing out in Minnesota, they don't get a foothold in South Carolina. And if they do, they pay an accountability price for going after police harming the public safety. Tell us a little bit about what a Norman governorship would do to the anti-ICE protesters, and that's in your own state.
Well, what a Norman administration will do as governor will be to give the police departments, will give the sheriff's departments, will give the ICE agents the ability to do their job, which is to get those who are not here legally, those who have committed a crime, out of the country. And in South Carolina, we will not have to worry about a sanctuary city who aids and abets the criminals. And those who, spit at the ICE agents, they, hit a lot of them. They do things that they ought to be arrested for. The young man who unfortunately lost his life, there's a video that came that was seen after the fact. He was kicking a light out of a ICE vehicle. You should have gone to jail for that. And if there's one word that I've heard, John, the American people want consequences for violations of the law. And Minnesota, unfortunately, is taking the side of the criminal, particularly with the sanctuary cities. South Carolina, we're not going to have that. And with our Doge Commission, we're going to put on the website any dollars that are fraudulent, any dollars that are not being prioritized as they should, and make government accountable to we the people. And the best government is the one that's closest to those who are paying for it, which is the taxpayers. And we're going to make that front and center stage. And unfortunately, Tim Walz in Minnesota, the $9 billion I heard today was more like double that, $18 billion of fraud that they know of. And, that can't be sustainable. And in South Carolina, anything that is not right, we're going to broadcast it, we're going to put it on our website, and we're going to deal with it as Minnesota and other states should be doing.
One other thing that I've been a little bit mystified by the government, the IRS seems a little slow at this, but there are all these nonprofits that fund this violence, fund this anarchy, fund the obstruction of law enforcement. They still have their tax-exempt status as of now, but these tax-exempt groups, these nonprofits also have to register in states to operate and raise money and do those things. In a Norman administration in South Carolina, if there's an anti-ICE group that is registered as a charity and they commit violence, what's your likely action against them?
We're going to do pretty much what President Trump did, designate them as a terrorist organization. We're going to call them out, and we're going to show the public who they're dealing with, and even more importantly, who is funding these ICE, who's funding these anarchists who are doing so much harm to our ICE agents. And it can't be a shadow group that all of a sudden you have 100 protesters who are doing violence. Somebody's paying them to come in and do the violence, and they've got to be held accountable for it. In the past, those who, when they tried to put them in jail, they posted bond. They've had somebody that puts the bond dollars up. We've got to expose that. And luckily in South Carolina, it hasn't been an issue. But I will tell you this, with what's happening in New York, what's happening in California and other states, guess where they're coming? To South Carolina. We're the number one suitcase state in the union, and it's a good thing in one way, but the other way, if it's uncontrolled growth, and if you get things like this happening where they're moving down, bringing the politics with them, they're not welcome.
Yeah, they're going to find out what South Carolina law and order really looks like, which is a good thing. There are a lot of the country craves what you have in that great state. Congressman Ralph Norman, it's a great honor to have you on the show. We always love talking to you. We always learn a lot, and a lot of excitement about your governor's campaign. Good to have you on. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. All right, folks, coming up next, we're going to discuss how the Homeland Security Department and ICE, with the help of President Trump, have made America safe again. More on that right after these messages.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today. From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
Welcome back, America. When you have a big day on Capitol Hill, particularly when it involves the Justice Department, the justice system, our judges, Jeffrey Epstein, there's no better person to bring in than our good friend Mike Davis. He's the president of the Article 3 Project. And let me remind everybody, for a long time, he's the man who vetted judges that Republicans put on the Supreme Court at the bench across this country. He knows his stuff inside and out. Joining us now, our good friend Mike Davis. Mike, great to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
All right. This was quite the theater day, and I think Democrats walk away tonight from the Attorney General Pam Bondi hearing with having not really scored any points. In fact, a lot of times when they tried to score points, she reminded them that Democrats had the bigger liability on this. They didn't prosecute Jeffrey Epstein. They didn't even talk about him for the last 10 years. And by the way, the biggest missed opportunity was in George W. Bush's administration. How do you rate today's hearing, and what do you think the average American took away from it?
Pam Bondi showed once again today why I'm her biggest fan, because she's bold, she's fearless. These Democrats brought a butter knife to a gunfight, and it did not go well for them. Pam plays nobody's fool. She came prepared, in command. She clearly laid out her successes as President Trump's Attorney General, how she's making America safe again for President Trump. She hit it on the park today.
Yeah, and I think that may have been the part that gets missed in the media coverage. But if you were an average person watching today, that opening statement, the things that in 1 year Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel were able to accomplish that in 4 years or 12 years of Obama-Biden rule couldn't be accomplished. It leaves a really lasting impression. A lot of the fighting seemed to be meaningless once you get to the bottom line of that. How important was that for the public to hear today?
It's very important, because if you think about what do real Americans and real America care about, do they care about these squabbles inside of Washington, D.C.? No, they care about the safety of their family. And Pam Bondi, working with President Trump and many others in the Trump administration, have made America safe again, as President Trump promised he would do.
Yeah, these are like century-low numbers for violent crime. It's really a remarkable achievement, and you sense it. I've had people, I was in D.C., and I was on the side of the town that used to be a little unsafe to go to. People like, we feel comfortable coming out here again, and I thought that was just, one of those moments where people just in their candor and without thinking politics realize it just feels safer in some of these big cities. What's the next big thing that Pam Bondi needs to deliver on the Trump agenda? Is it the accountability and this weaponization moment?
I mean, I think the Attorney General has been delivering every day that she's been there. Again, she's bold, she's fearless, she doesn't care what the D.C. insiders think about her, and she brings an outsider's experience and perspective to the job, which is so critically important. She was the attorney general of one of the biggest states in America, in Florida, and she's bringing that perspective as the attorney general of the United States. I think the next thing that she is going to deliver on is bringing accountability for the politicized and weaponized intel agencies and law enforcement to go after your political enemies. There has to be accountability for that. Because we're going to lose our country if we do not have accountability for that. And so I think you're seeing a great deal of movement down in, based upon the news reporting we're seeing, down in the Southern District of Florida with our good friend Jason Redding Quinones, the Miami U.S. attorney. You saw that he opened up a new grand jury in Fort Pierce, Florida, and you're seeing news reports that subpoenas are going out. So buckle up. As promised and as delivered, justice is coming.
And there was a big moment this week, and this rests on Pam Bondi. This is her doing, going to the United States Supreme Court, going to a federal judge in Washington, D.C., saying the Trump Justice Department asks that these two courts vacate both the indictment and the conviction of Steve Bannon. The assumed argument is that the J6 Democratic Committee was never lawfully, just as you've described so well in the show so many times, you nailed this. It was never lawfully impaneled, and therefore its subpoena wasn't enforceable. Reversing a conviction like that is rare. It's not a precedent. It's rare. That has to send a message to the establishment that you can't cheat on these cases.
Again, this is where Pam Bondi shows that she's so bold and fearless. Other Republican AGs would not do things like this, but Pam Bondi keeps delivering monumental wins for the Constitution. She has very ably dealt with the judicial sabotage against the President of the United States, our duly elected President of the United States, exercising his core Article 2 power, his electoral mandate to secure our border, to expel illegal aliens, including the worst of the worst among us. She is trying to right the wrongs of what happened with the lawfare in the past, starting with our friend Steve Bannon. Maybe Steve Bannon could be nicer to Pam now that Pam reversed his criminal conviction. And there's a bigger issue here than any one case. Steve Bannon is a key presidential advisor, and there is an Office of Legal Counsel opinion that's binding on the executive branch. And we've been talking about this for more than 3 years on your show, John, that the Biden Justice Department ignored, where presidents can get candid and confidential advice from their presidential advisors, and that is protected by constitutional executive privilege going back 250 years to George Washington. And the Biden Justice Department ignored that, eviscerated that in order to get Trump, in order to get his top aides like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro. It is inexcusable. And again, Pam is righting a grievous wrong, grievous constitutional wrong by having the court reverse Steve Bannon's criminal conviction.
You know these judges. You help get a lot of them, and these justices, you get them confirmed. Does the Supreme Court and the federal courts ultimately comply with this request?
Well, they should. And I mean, if an activist judge at the district court level does not comply with this, I think that Pam has proven that she is more than willing to go to the Supreme Court of the United States. And I think she has like a 95% success rate at the Supreme Court in her first year in office. Pam Bondi's the real deal. And whether you saw it today at her oversight hearing or her string of wins at the Supreme Court or the string of criminals who are in prison and the streets across America that Pam Bondi helps President Trump make safe again, she has a compelling, impressive record, and she's just getting started.
There is another trend line that I think is very important, and it doesn't get covered because it comes out episodically, but federal appeals court after federal appeals court after federal appeals court are beginning to sanction every aspect of President Trump's immigration crackdown, basically saying the law is the law, and Congress and cities can't ignore it just because they don't like it. These wins at the appellate court are creating a body of law that seems to restore what we all assume the president always had, which is the ability to take illegal aliens out of the country. How important is it that we've had him? We had one Monday, we had one last week, two the week before. It seems like with Pam Bondi, President Trump, the Solicitor General, there's a body of law now that is going to embolden Trump to finish the job.
Absolutely. President Trump's biggest job is to restore our country, restore our sovereign power as we the people, to control our border, to control our population, to control who comes and goes. That is the most crucial power of we the people under our Constitution. We the people control that, not activist judges. And we the people control that through our elected members of Congress who enacted legislation dealing with our borders, immigration laws that have been on the books for decades that Joe Biden and his team decided to intentionally ignore. They mass imported 20 million illegal aliens, including the most vicious, dangerous terrorists around the world, unvetted and unvettable people from the worst places around the world, including many Islamists from the Middle East who are here to destroy our country like they're destroying Europe. Pam Bondi is working every day to make sure that President Trump can exercise his core Article 2 executive power to carry out his most crucial constitutional duty to secure our country, to secure our borders. And Pam Bondi is delivering masterfully in that regard every day.
I have a funny feeling she'll be delivering in Arizona and Florida in two different spectrums pretty soon, but a lot more ahead of us. Mike, I could talk to you all day. What a great conversation. Good way to help us understand what happened today. The founder and president of the Article 3 Project. Folks, go check it out. Mike Davis. Buddy, thanks for being with us today. What a great conversation. Coming up next, there's been a lot of wins against diversity, equity, inclusion by the Trump administration, but there's still some work to do. We'll get to see what that means, what's on the horizon, and what things are getting rebranded so you don't know that DEI is still in the system somewhere. We're going to talk to Alan Mendenhall right after this.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. Breaking news from Real America's Voice.
Welcome back, folks. We were watching the House floor before the vote on election integrity took place. A defeat for President Trump in the United States House of Representatives. 6 Republicans crossed over, joined Democrats to vote to repeal President Trump's tariffs on our neighbor to the north, Canada. This is a major blow to the president. Isn't sure whether it will get to the Senate. When it gets to the Senate, even if it passes there to go to the president could veto it, and then it will allow it to stay in place. But it shows that there are some Republicans that are still not on board with the Trump agenda. We'll have more of that over at justthenews.com. Go check it out. All right. As I promised before the break, DEI is a sentiment, a philosophy that is getting stamped out in many places, education, elsewhere. Nowhere has there been more success than in the corporate boardroom. Joining us now is a research fellow at the Rowe Institute and senior advisor for the Free Enterprise Initiative at the Heritage Foundation, Alan Mendenhall. He's been leading that corporate boardroom revolt. Alan, great to have you on the show. It's sort of funny. For a long time, the left had its way with shareholders, but you and others are beginning to balance that. And as soon as you balance it, it seems like corporations get out of politics a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's been the most encouraging thing to discover. So we first started doing this a couple years ago. We filed 4 shareholder proposals. That's it. This year, we've done 26. At any given time, we own about 600 public equities, and we can kind of go through that portfolio and figure out which companies are doing what, and therefore which companies we need to engage with. Now, one thing we've discovered in this process is that most of these engagements end up being pretty friendly. We say, hey, you're doing X, Y, and Z, and they say, well, what do we need to do to stop? Because we've had all these institutional investors on the left for so long pushing us to do political things that are on the left, but we haven't had that same pressure from the right. So just tell us what to do, and we'll fold. And so we're seeing that. We've engaged on a number of issues this year. Corporations where they have unmitigated China risk, corporations using ESG and DEI in their executive metrics. One that's near and dear to my heart because the Southern Poverty Law Center is in Alabama. I live in Alabama. We actually have engaged companies that were relying on the Southern Poverty Law Center's diagnostic tools, including its hate map. And actually, we got the idea from the very tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk. After that happened, and TPUSA having been added to the SPLC hate map just months before, we said, wait a second, which companies are using SPLC information in their diagnostic tools? And it turns out a lot of them are screening companies on their employee matching and stuff like that, based on that list. And we've had really successful engagements in that area. As just an example, we had a very friendly engagement with Meta, and Meta said, we're not going to use SPLC. We've had the same type of engagement with companies like Salesforce. They said, look, we're going to look high and low, near and far, wherever, and make sure we're not using SPLC stuff. And they're very happy to work with us and make sure that that's not happening. So this is a really successful area for us, and it's one that the right has not focused on, and we're starting to do it, and it's great.
Yeah, it's a reminder that just speaking up sometimes can have a profound effect. A lot of times I think people say, what's the purpose? Why try? The answer is when you try, you actually usually succeed. I want to talk about a company that came on the radar today, the Federal Trade Commission. It's a big one, makes our phones, makes our computers. Apple, the Federal Trade Commission today sending a warning letter saying your Apple news is so biased, it may be violating federal law. How important is that? And could you imagine an Apple boardroom play on this soon?
Quite possibly, yeah. We have not engaged Apple, but we know other people who are working in similar space who have. So quite possibly that could be something we look at in the next shareholder season. We're already starting to look ahead to next year and figure out how many companies we can engage. We're hoping to engage 100. And when I say engage, I mean filing actual shareholder proposals and that very formal process. There are other kinds of engagement which involve just picking up the phone and say, hey, we might file a shareholder proposal, but maybe you could stop that process from happening by just going ahead and ending this practice. And that's a form of engagement as well. It just doesn't require the whole formal process with SEC rules and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we could certainly look into that. I'm sure we are already looking into that.
Yeah, you guys have a large radar. You're working on a lot of important things at Heritage. It's great. Before we let you go, got about a minute and a half left. There is a lot to learn in the early work that you've done. What's been the most surprising or informative thing you've had in learning from CEOs? When CEOs get confronted, when the chairman of the board gets confronted, what are we learning about their sensitivities and their unwillingness to throw away half of a marketplace potentially?
the most surprising thing to me is how so much of this turns on just sheer personality. I won't say the company, but we had an engagement with one company, and this general counsel vice president had grown up in an evangelical household. He had gone to religious institutions, but he'd had some kind of experience where he fell out of the faith and he had just become hostile to Christianity. And he was just not open to our engagement because he had these deep-seated hostilities toward his own upbringing. And had we gotten somebody else, we may have had a totally different experience. So it's amazing how just one person can affect everybody in the entire company, can affect all the other shareholders, can affect everybody on the supply chain. And that to me has been the most astounding thing, because you never know what you're going to get on the other side of the camera.
Yeah. Turns out corporate executives are people too. Sometimes it's just the personal side that we didn't even know. Reminding them of their fiduciary responsibility is a good way to correct that quickly, and I know that's what you've been doing. Real quickly, how do folks get involved with all the great work you're doing at Heritage if they want to learn more about this or get involved with it?
Yeah, you can go to our free enterprise initiative landing page at the Heritage Foundation. It will show who's involved. It will show where we're doing our filings. You can look at the companies that we're targeting and see where we've already had some successes. We've already withdrawn 10 of our 26 proposals this year, not because they were failures, but because they succeeded, because the companies have already done what we wanted them to do. And we basically treated that as a success, said, hey, we'll withdraw a proposal. We hope that this creates an ongoing relationship so that next year we can have great conversations and maybe do some more things, not because we want to make your company a bad guy, but because we want to make your company even better. We want it to focus on its core business purposes and to add value to consumers all over the United States.
Amazing. Something really worth watching. This is really one of the most fascinating movements in the corporate boardroom right now. Alan, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it. We'll get you back on soon for an update.
Appreciate it.
All right, folks, after the break. Yeah, thank you. After the break, we'll talk about another way you can help make America healthy again. Dr. Ian Tolberg, right after these messages.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Welcome back, America. This morning, I got up early, had to shovel some snow that was blocking my mailbox. I got to tell you, it was a harsh reminder. I'm not getting any younger. It's hard to stay in shape. It's hard to remain healthy, but millions of Americans are now talking about that every day, and they're taking action to get in shape to improve their overall health. It's time for a good health segment here at Just the News, No Noise. We have a special guest, Dr. Ian Tolberg, here on behalf of one of our great partners, Bear Health Research. Going to talk about some great health supplements that could increase your chances of success with your healthy resolutions for this year. Doctor, good to have you on. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, pleasure. Good to see you again.
All right. Pure Health is been a great partner of ours for a long time. I think maybe a couple of years ago, there was about 10 or 20 things that you could go to the site and learn about. The science of health has expanded. There are so many new natural supplements that are proven and working for people. Tell us about where the industry is going and where Pure Health particularly has been able to make advances.
Yeah, absolutely. And first I'll say that I'm sorry to hear about your snow because, man, it's been 55 to 60 here in Colorado. So sorry about that. But, medicine is advancing. And I've got to say, my back is liking the warmer weather. I'll just say that. But, medicine is advancing just so often. I actually heard a statistic just the other day on how many new diagnoses are actually happening every year. And it's over 400. Try to keep that straight in medical school and even residency, right? But the great thing is supplements are something that they've been around for a while, and they are just really making things a whole lot easier, not to necessarily treat a specific issue, but really just to try to help supplement your body to get it feeling its best. So, I gotta say, you and I are no longer spring chickens anymore, and our bodies are feeling it. These supplements are a way just to really improve everything without going after some kind of nasty chemicals.
Yeah, that's really key. How important and how big a change has it been that MAHA, the movement, the constant focus in the media, in the government on health? It seems like everybody I talk to is talking about health. And, I can remember 4 years ago, no one ever wanted to talk about, I don't want to talk about that. Everyone seems to be engaged in a way we haven't seen in a very long time.
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that because I was on a podcast a few years ago with some friends of mine who are Olympians. And I was not big into the whole health and supplement issue, even though I was an elite athlete myself. But now the more that I continue to learn, the more I got into medicine, I've been practicing for 20 years now. It's just incredible the amount that health is really taking over, and it's on everyone's just top of the mind. And so when it comes to that, when we're talking about Pure Health Research, you're looking at this company that has all of its products made right here in the United States. So it's absolutely wonderful. You're getting top quality with them. And the great thing is you go back to MAHA that you just mentioned, and we have no added GMOs, no added fillers, no preservatives, nothing like that. They're just pure natural ingredients. And that's one of the great things about this company is getting you supplements that, number one, work as they're intended, but also they're just not full of a bunch of junk.
And one of the things I learned, and you all were so important in my quest for journey, was how important it is to take care of your liver. And in the era of processed food and high sugar, your liver takes a beating day in and day out. And when it starts to take that beating, we all start to feel sluggish. We start to gain weight. We don't perform nearly as well as we do. People are focusing on their liver in ways that I haven't seen. Liver Health Forum, one of the things that gets people started on the journey. Tell us a little bit about sugar, liver, and where we're moving to get healthier in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you about a couple of supplements we have there. So our liver health formula, it's by far our biggest seller. 2 million bottles have been sold of that. And it just helps to boost the metabolism a little bit to try to get rid of some of that, belly fat. It just really helps take out some of those toxins that we've got, just making us sluggish. And it can actually help decrease those fat deposits in our liver. So this one personally is one I take every day. Love it, and I do feel better on it. You mentioned, blood sugar. That's another one that with all these sugars and everything else, man, people's blood sugars are spiking. Being in an urgent care, I actually diagnosed 2 people just last week with diabetes. I shouldn't be doing that. That should be another type of doc, but I'm actually seeing that. And so our blood sugar formula just really helps to, number one, kind of curb some of those sugar cravings, just make it easier to stay away from some of those sweets. So that is a really big one. That's another one I take every single day. And then on top of that, we've got our lymphatic system support, or lymph system support, to try to help get off some of that excess fluid that just kind of weighs you down in your feet and your ankles. Just tries to get you feeling better overall. So those 3 are absolutely fantastic and a good key to get you back on track.
We got about a minute left. This is an interesting topic. I've been talking to a lot of parents, and we used to think you can just give a kid a multivitamin, they're fine. Give them the Flintstone vitamin, they'll be okay for years. But sedentary, overweight children today, the need for supplements and getting them back on a healthy schedule more than we've ever seen. Tell us a little bit about that advancement in the marketplace.
Yeah, here's what I'll tell you actually about vitamins. There's been long-term studies showing that just some of these multivitamins really aren't doing much of anything. I've had colleagues actually part of that, but when you go to the supplements, that's where things are going to actually change for you, because they are targeting specific body systems that are going to help just do what it's supposed to do naturally. But sometimes, especially with the type of diets that we all have, and even if you've got a great diet, some supplements can absolutely be beneficial to get, again, your vessels, your lymph system, your liver kind of back on track to where you just can get feeling a whole lot better. So these supplements are much different than just regular vitamins. This is really the way to go and to target those specific needs.
Yeah, well, we're so lucky to have this partnership with Pure Health. Folks, Dr. Tolbert, first, thanks for joining us, giving us a great update. To our viewers, if you're interested in any of the formulas Dr. Tolbert mentioned, head over to Pure Health Research today. PureHealthResearch.com is the actual address. For the next 48 hours only, you're going to save 35% on your order with the coupon code JUSTNEWS. You're protected by the 365-day money-back guarantee. Special offer because we're partners. Go check it out. Coming up next, we'll talk about the future of AI as something to fear. By the way, some breaking news. The House just passed the Save America Act. It passed. 213 Democrats voted against it. It is now going to the Senate. Check it out at justthenews.com. We'll be right back.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Welcome back, America. Amanda's going to be back in the next segment. I'm going to take this one solo. It's an important issue. We all know AI is the talk of the tech world. It's getting billions of dollars in investment, and many people, including the government, are betting that it will have a huge impact on our future. But there's a slight issue specifically with AI built using large language models known as LLMs for short. And our next guest can explain what those problems are in his revolutionary way. He's going to fix them. Joining us now, the CEO, the founder, and the chief scientist at Partsol, Dr. Darrell Williams. Dr. Williams, good to have you here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, I think a lot of people hear AI and they're like, I think I generally know what it is, robotics, smart computers, but I don't really know how it's going to change my life. Before we get into the fixes, this is going to be a generational change for us, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It is. And how we embrace that change is really going to make the difference.
Yeah.
Right now, we are embracing it. You said hundreds of billions of dollars. We're embracing it by having AI, which is about 70% accurate.
Yeah.
And so as long as we're satisfied with relative truth, it's what you're going to get.
Wow, that is a big issue. Yeah, I see it. I mean, sometimes I'll use an AI and think, because I'm checking something for journalism, I'm like, wait a second, that's not true. And it's kind of jarring to you because you kind of expected computers to, but I guess garbage in, garbage out is how this sort of works. Now, you have a great long history with the military, and you're taking this sort of military approach to this. Tell us what the issue is that makes AI so unreliable right now.
It is error. It is error, and then when it doesn't have enough information, it guesses.
Yeah.
The problem we run into is that the volume of data is so great.
Right.
And when I created these algorithms in the military, it was to combat strategic surprise.
Right.
The president doesn't want to wake up in the morning and find something happened, and so I created these algorithms that deconstruct supply chains, and they're exceptionally accurate. The problem you run into is that the adversaries want to stay hidden, so they're flooding the data markets with error. All your other AI takes all of that, makes a big sine wave, and says, in the middle, that's truth. It isn't truth. Or it is truth maybe 70% of the time.
Yeah.
So we had to find a way of actually creating guardrails of truth which filter out all of the error.
That's pretty impressive. That's a massive endeavor. Walk us through some of the components. I mean, some of it is data checking and proofing, right?
Right.
Some of it is what? Sort of algorithms that look and detect things that clearly were designed to be misinformation?
It is. I mean, if you're going to teach someone how to discover a counterfeit $100 bill,
yeah.
You don't give them a pile of counterfeit bills and say, here you go, learn what it is. You give them a pile of real bills.
Yeah.
And so from very early on, I found that if I'm trying to always remove error from the masses without having any litmus test of truth, I run into a problem. So I created a mechanism where as our algorithms are deconstructing down to science, we can use the same algorithms to construct from science to infinity. That puts this ecosystem of truth. And for example, if you want to know about cancer, you take microbiology, cellular biology, cancerogenesis, and you grow them out, you'll eventually get to cancer. Now you know everything that's possible. There's also stuff that has never been discovered. And so that's the second part of what comes with truth, is discovery.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. All right, so what are some of the practical products and applications that are going to flow from this extraordinary work you're doing?
Well, first of all, it's going to be national security. The idea of knowing truth in a flood of error is only going to help the president, national leaders understand what they should be worried about. Now, we've been doing this for quite a while with the national security, and so we are very good with that. But now we get to the discovery part. We have cancer research. We have vaccine research. We have power grid vulnerabilities. You have multiple things where everyone is just guessing on. What I've been doing, and we've done 400 operations already with no failure, is being able to find where the error is, fix it, attribute the error, so it might be someone nefarious, and then move on from there.
All right, so for people who want to know more about Partsol, what you're doing, want to get involved in, what's the best way?
Best way is go to our website, www.partsol.com. You'll see videos on there of absolute truth algorithms, AI stem cells, and then reach out to us from there.
Wow, what a great conversation. All right, folks, that's all the time we have left for you tonight. Go over to Just the News. We'll give you the whole rundown of who voted against and for the Save America Act. It passed President Trump's signature election integrity bill, now headed to the Senate. We'll have coverage all through the night. We'll be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, we're going to hand off to the amazing...
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead, scan the QR code now. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're